Okay, well, it's officially about to begin. We're ready to go with our sanding area. We're even gonna use the robot in this one because I'm not gonna punish this poor guy who's already given up on hand sanding because we have a robot. So we're gonna use the robot for this test combined with the spray line and our 20 doors. You know, gentlemen, start your engines. Here we go. So here's where we're really going to speed up the camera so we don't have to sit through all of that sanding. But as you can see, pretty good little U-shaped cell. We've got the sanding balanced with the robot. So one thing that we haven't done is doing the calculations of this contest without the robot. That would be pretty interesting. Safe to say you would probably almost double your hand sanding time. So if you're hand sanding and using a finishing line, oh boy, you're really punishing yourself. So we're just going to let the camera roll here in supersonic speed so you can see we're not skipping any steps or doing any funny business. So sit back, relax, watch some sanding. Okay, well, the race is on for sure because we're here. I'm here with Joe. He's our master sander. Just knocked all those doors out in record time. I'm kind of starting to sweat a little bit here, but yeah, we're having fun. Okay, here's where the rubber hits the road. We got our doors, we got our spray line, and they're about to fire it up. Well, it's pretty hard to say that's not really fast. Wow. And another plot twist, they're running this finishing line with one guy, so he's feeding and tailing, which I gotta admit I wasn't banking on. I was banking on two people running that machine so I could come in the end and say, no, 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 that's 2 times the labor, but can't do that now. So it's great. So for the record, we started videoing or started running the doors at 9:18 in the morning, and he's run half of them now. Let me check what time it is. It's 9:21, and he's run half of the doors already. So that took a grand total of 3 minutes to do 10 doors. Uh-oh. Maybe I'm about to learn some lessons. Oh my goodness. That's fast. You might be wondering, is Brad crazy? How's he gonna race that? I'm watching this go down. They literally just painted the backs of all 20 doors in 6 minutes. That's quick. So in order for the contest to be fair, we have to follow all manufacturing guidelines and specifications in terms of like how the spray line works, how the oven works, how the primer works, so that everything is the same. So this is the flash off room right here. So now the doors are through, they just need to flash off in here, and then from there, they'll go into the drying oven. And I think the flash off time is maybe like 5 minutes or something. That man right there will know. And then we'll bake them in the oven and then back out for sanding. They set a timer so we know when it comes out. Okay, so we're out of the oven and they're nice and warm. So anyway, so what has to happen now is we have a cool down period, and they said it's super quick, like 5 minutes, I'll be ready to go. Here we go, front sides are going through now. I mean, I gotta admit, super cool. Super cool. All right, doors are back out of the oven, heading in for second scuff. We gotta let them cool for 5 minutes and start sanding. Woo, doggy, they cooked through that primer again in record time. 20 doors sanded. He's just on the last one now, and they're gonna bring those babies back into the spray line, and we know how long that's gonna take. Not very long. Last one. This day just keeps getting better. So now I'm here, we're running the test. I'm racing against myself now. They got me running the machine. It's like, hey, Brad, dig your own grave. Kind of fun though. All right, so that's a wrap for the spring. We got our doors second coat, so they're gonna sit in the oven for 20 minutes and then come back out. And then once we scuff them again, the race is done. It's been a super fun day. Love it. I like running that finishing line. That was fun too. All right, everybody, we're on the home stretch. This is it. Once these doors are sanded, contest over. So let's get to it. All right, that concludes our ultimate finishing challenge. Joe just cooked through those doors again in record time, so we're gonna tally up all of the time and report back to you on how we did. So one thing that's come up a couple of times now, as we've been promoting this a little bit, was we should have top coated the doors. And it's easy here, because if you wanna know the top coating time included, the doors are sanded, ready for top coat, add 12 minutes. No big, well, 12 minutes plus 40 minutes dry time plus 12 minutes. So add an hour and those doors would all be top coated. So maybe I'll do a summary sheet to show that, but no need to top coat. We can do the math. Well, that was totally fun. We do have to make some quick corrections though. So thank goodness our friends from CNC Automation are following along on LinkedIn, and they may have even been the supplier of this. I'm looking for a sticker. Either way, they were helpful and said that this finishing line is not $1 million. Said it was about $500,000. And then we got the bills together with the customer, and you know, by the time they're all said and done, the whole thing was about $750,000 bucks. So not quite $1 million, I stand corrected. But the
process here is not to promote or demote any machines. It's all about understanding processes and what's right for you. So that was the challenge, and once we get it all tallied up, I can't wait to release that video out into the world, see what everybody thinks. Thanks for following along.
Okay, so in this part of the video is where we go for the gusto. We're gonna demonstrate the benefit of having the Cosmo XL. Up until now, everything you've seen and everything we've done could be done equally as well on either the Cosmo or the Cosmo XL. Wouldn't make a difference, but in this video, we're gonna connect the sanding to the finishing, to the drying, to the sanding of the finish. And in order for that to happen, we need a machine that can work pretty autonomously with flipping the doors and everything, which is what the Cosmo XL does. So I'm hoping in this video that we're gonna demonstrate how much faster it is to connect the processes going to a single piece flow rather than batches moving through the factory. So without further ado, let's go.
Now, although the Cosmo XL, right there, fully has the capability of sanding the edges, for this experiment, we're still gonna run the edges through the Ultimate Edge Sander. It's just faster, better. I mean, it would break my heart not to use it, but the Cosmo XL can easily sand edges as well. So without further ado, we're gonna start our next 20 doors that are right behind me. We're gonna start at the edge sander, and we're gonna bring them up here, connecting all of the processes. Okay, so this is gonna be my attempt at explaining what's about to unfold and why. Now, we're connecting the sanding to the spraying, the drying, to the spraying, and back to the sanding, all in a single piece flow fashion. And so where we get that concept of like needing to dry things faster is slowing me down is because when we're batch producing and I'm sanding 20 doors, the first door I sand is just sitting there. So if it takes me 2 hours to sand those 20 doors, the first door has been sitting actually for 2 hours. Then I go to the spray booth and then I have to spray all 20. Well, now I want to sand them. So I'm in a big panic to get them dry. So therefore I need to escalate my drying activity somehow, some way. Whereas in a single piece flow fashion, we're not gonna let one of those seconds go to waste. So we're gonna sand a door, immediately paint the door. So while we're sanding the next door, the paint is already starting to dry. So by the time we've got to the last door, almost all of the paint is gonna be dry, probably, I'm guessing, on both sides of the door. So what we did, batch processing in 2 hours, I suspect we're gonna get them sanded and painted in the same amount of time. Now, this is gonna happen live. There's way too much footage to edit, so what you're probably gonna see me doing in the video is what I would call a little bit of work balancing between me and the machines and line balancing between the stations. So I'm just gonna start with what my best guess of how much time I need is, and then we're gonna go, and I'm just gonna tweak it as I go. So here we go. Hopefully we capture enough footage to really give everybody an understanding of what's going on. But the important part is gonna be the time, which at the end we'll do a big discussion on each segment of the video that we made. So without further ado, let's go.
Now you're gonna have to watch pretty close to see what's going on. I'll do my best to explain it as we go, but because the video is going so fast, you're gonna have to hold on to your hat. Also, probably what we're demonstrating here is, you know, maybe what they say about lean is for 2% of the population. The rest of everybody's gonna argue it or tell me it's not gonna work or something. But anyway, for those who embrace it, you're about to really get a glimpse into how fast your finishing could be and how low the cost could be. So if you see what's going on here, I'm sanding the hand sanding portion, which is the part that, you know, a robot or any machine can't do. And then watch the bottom left corner. The robot's sanding while I'm spraying. There's the magic. Those processes are completely connected. So in the same time that you're normally just sanding, you're actually sanding and spraying. So effectively, the spraying is happening at zero cost in terms of labor to you. So a bunch of that is rinse and repeat over and over. So let's fast forward a whole bunch of doors and then witness what's happening next. And the magic continues. Watch close as this door gets sprayed. That's the front side of the first batch of doors. And so all of that dry time that we're trying to avoid is actually an illusion because it's getting absorbed up in the sanding time. So now the doors that I'm spraying the front side on have been sitting there already for 30 minutes. So they're dry. The bottom door in that rack is soaking wet. So there's a big time difference there when you're batch processing and you're really subordinating your activity to the last door in line and punishing the first door. So in this case, I'm able to get the door sprayed on both sides in the same time as the hand sanding is happening. So let's fast forward again. If by this point you're not rubbing your eyes saying, I can't believe what I'm seeing, I don't know if we can help you. Because we are still raw sanding the wood doors and we are more than halfway through priming both sides of the painted doors. See, there's still raw doors going through the machine. So as we come up to the last few raw doors, then you're going to see we just transition straight into the primer and keep the exact same system running. So now let's fast forward again right into the primer sanding, and you'll see we're just repeating the same system. We don't need more than 2 racks ever. And all of the drying is happening, again, inside of the time that it's taking us to sand them. So now I will walk out of the booth with a primer both sides, sanded both side door, and start putting the second coat of primer on one face. Now, look at what's going on to the spray table now. Those doors are still raw on one side. Yet, at the beginning of those doors, like door number 1, we're already putting the second coat on one side. And all we had to do was leave a little bit of space on the rack just so we didn't get confused as to which doors go where. So now let's really speed this up. I mean, this is going so fast you can't even see what's going on. But you can see we're working our way down that rack and we're working our way down the other rack. Very simple to keep track of. So what's really being demonstrated here is the power of connecting your processes. Everybody thought it was a finishing contest as in, you know, going head to head with a spray machine, but that only tells half the story. That only tells the story between the start of the spray machine and the end of the spray machine. But your value stream actually starts when the door is raw and ends when the door is top coated. So to ignore all that other activity is just a humongous mistake. So we have to include all of that other activity inside of this process, and then you can see the results that we can get. So depending on what equipment you have, how you run it, and the process you're using, you may be inadvertently being forced into batches, and usually the bigger the batch, the worse it is. So the big takeaway here is not necessarily what system and what equipment you're running, but way, 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 way more importantly, how are you running it? Oh, baby! 2 hours, 56 minutes. Not bad. We just want to reassure everybody, it wouldn't have made a difference if we ran this experiment with 1, 10, 100, or 1,000 doors. Your cost per door would have went up in relation to
the increase in throughput. So now let's take a look at the money. Now you may have to pause the video here, but if you take a look at, on average, if you're using a spray line to spray 50 doors a day, your cost is $17 a door. And if you run your finishing in the single piece flow fashion, as I demonstrated, your cost is only $8.84 a door. Now let's examine the time. Doing this in a single piece flow fashion from start to finish was 3 hours for 20 doors, which is 9 minutes a door. Now look what happens when we got forced into batch manufacturing. It took 6 hours to finish the same amount of doors, which was about 17.8 minutes per door. So how does that translate into labor dollars? Let's have a look. The single piece flow one was super easy to calculate because you've just got one person and they're done in 3 hours. So taking it at 25 bucks an hour, you're $3.75 a door. And just like batch manufacturing is more complicated, so is calculating the price. You'll have to pause or slow down, but there's 3 pages here to keep your eye on. Now this is page 2 with some more calculations for each step of the process. And here's the summary sheet. So it's $5.25 each panel using the batch processing system in labor. Now that's also running a robot doing the sanding. If you have a spray line without the robot and you're still hand sanding, your cost goes up to $8.33 per door. Now here's a crazy fun fact. The wood industry spends $2 billion and hoping that our productivity goes up, and turns out it actually went down. How is that even possible? And I bet 90% of us with our factories have bought machines and bought equipment and realized like, wow, okay, it seems like it's faster and it sure looks cool, but my overall productivity hasn't gone up. What's going on? Oh well, move on to the next project. I believe that this is to the extent that the people selling you equipment do not understand the entire value stream, and they're only really trying to sell you the one piece of equipment that they sell, not necessarily what's right for you. So just be an informed buyer and make sure you're asking the right questions. Does this piece of equipment force me into a batch? Is this piece of equipment going to actually add to my value stream and affect my bottleneck? So my advice would be simple. Just be very wary if you're buying a piece of equipment and you're only talking about that one piece of equipment. If the person selling you the equipment cannot relate to you how that machine also affects the rest of your value stream, where the bottleneck is, and how it's going to break that bottleneck, I'd be pretty nervous about that transaction. And as always, we're here to help in any way we can, whether you are looking for some lean manufacturing advice, whether you are looking for a way to relieve the burden of sanding in your factory, or whether you want to buy or learn anything about producing MDF doors, or you just need a pocket full of lean tools. So we'd like to welcome you to our family, where your success is our mission.